welcome you to a very special edition of This Is Wrestling. It is Lee Versage alongside the one and only Zach McGibbon, post-Elimination Chamber. Zach, I'm a little bit speechless. You're going to have to take over.
Oh, yeah, you're giving me the floor? I will gladly take the floor and proclaim victory.
You're not taking the floor. It's time, Zach. It's time for The Rock. It's time, well, for somebody else to join The Rock as we get into Elimination Chamber. How are you? Are you doing okay?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, Lee. It's been busy. I'm not going to lie. It's been a busy last week or so. Anyone that knows what's going on in the news sphere would understand why. But we are pushing forward. But I gotta say, I'm very excited to be on here. I am happy to say that I could proclaim victory. I can proclaim vindication for after all of these months. I could finally say yes. We can say that John Cena is going to WrestleMania and challenging for the championship against Cody Rhodes, like I have been saying for months. Yes, we had the speed bump along the way, Lee, when it comes to Jey Uso winning the Royal Rumble, and that certainly made things a little bit depressing for me. But we got back on track. Cena's going to challenge Cody Rhodes. I was right. So I'm glad I'm finally seeing that through, and now we can move forward and we could go on to the next take that will hold me in for the next couple of months.
One of the toughest 30 seconds I've ever had to endure. You couldn't be more wrong. You getting John Cena correct after John Cena, one of the biggest heel turns in the history of pro wrestling, is like you picking Damian Priest.
What?
It's actually worse.
What are you talking about? I got it correct.
No, you didn't
yes,
get
I
it
did
correct.
Get it
what
correct.
you did get, no, you didn't. You picked babyface John Cena, and not in a gazillion years, Zach McGibbon, did you ever even bring up the fact that John Cena would win by turning heel. It's like a totally different character.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me.
Totally different person.
Oh.
You might as well have picked somebody not in the Elimination Chamber.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me. I was right.
And to claim victory?
Absolutely
after I
victory.
talked about who was gonna be the Rock's soul. Who was that gonna be? And I went out on a limb and I picked Drew McIntyre to be that person.
Yeah.
At least I had the wherewithal, the gumption, the balls, Zach.
No, you're not. No. So, pause right there. That was the same thing I said months ago, and you said, no, you can't use gumption. You can't say you stood up and blah, blah, blah. You got to own up to the blah, blah, blah. So I'm not allowing you to do that either. No. I'm not going to let that one slide.
If you think this is even a moral victory, it's not.
It is absolutely a moral victory. No, I got it right. What are you talking about?
Well, you got the name right. You got all the circumstances wrong.
I got it correct. Lee, how did your Drew McIntyre pick turn out?
Just along with 5 others, actually 6 others, babyface John Cena and everyone else, and they're lost.
When did Drew McIntyre get eliminated again?
Zach, if you think I am going to let you off the hook on this, I'm not.
I'm just asking a question.
You had every opportunity.
Oh, come on.
By picking John Cena to tell us all what was going to happen. But no.
You're unbelievable. You are unbelievable.
You and the rest of the world couldn't have predicted this. And you know what? I'm not letting you off the hook, but you know what? Let's get on to bigger, better thing, because this is actually, as I was saying to you off the air, this is actually one of the best moments in wrestling in a long time for me. Not because I like John Cena or not because I think he will be a good heel, but because nobody actually saw this coming. And for the people who did, and they want to claim that they did, I would like to hear the proof, like weeks ago and months ago and all of that stuff, because no, you didn't, I didn't, nobody did. Because the machine that was behind John Cena coming back with all the merchandise and all of the prep, and it's not just the fact that they turned him heel, Zach. It's the fact that the machine was behind John Cena, and this was a gutsy move that not a lot of people, if any, saw coming. And I think that's amazing for the world of professional wrestling. I really do. I think watching this, you're like, oh my God, they did something that I didn't expect on the pay-per-view before WrestleMania. They did something that the world didn't expect, and they got people talking. We'll get into it, but John Cena, after winning the Elimination Chamber as a baby face, I think, maybe not, was in the ring after Cody told The Rock to F off. And then John Cena got the look in his face after the hug. Rock gave him the signal. And guess what? The knee to the groin. And then bludgeoning Cody Rhodes with The Rock looking on. And Travis Scott also helping out. On a what this means to the wrestling business scale, Zach, what was your thought when you first saw it?
I was certainly shocked. I took notice of when Cena was kind of hanging around in the ring for a while. It's like, he's really kind of hamming it up and staying in the ring. But the thought of a heel turn didn't really cross my mind until after Cody's told The Rock to go F himself. And then they did the big embrace. They started to do the big embrace. I'm like, oh my God, they might actually do this right here. They might actually have John Cena turn heel here. And then the look on his face that he gives to The Rock after he gives the most awkward looking throat slit I think I've ever seen a human being do. But he did that. And then he did the little hand thing afterwards. And The Rock and Cena are now aligned with each other after The Rock, John Cena kicked Cody Rhodes in the groin and beat him up. And good. It was a bloodied Cody Rhodes. This was an angle I really, really liked. I really liked how this was laid out, the shock value, as you mentioned, and just how much the brutality of it to really kind of emphasize, oh my gosh, John Cena has turned to the dark side. And I thought this was well done. Travis Scott being in there was a little weird. He threw in a legit haymaker to Cody's face during that exchange. But otherwise, I thought this was really, really well done. Obviously, it's got a lot of people talking. I saw that it was mentioned on First Take this morning as we're recording. The Cena heel turn, it's all over social media. So it certainly got people buzzing. I had people reach out to me, ask me about the Cena heel turn, and this is going to be interesting how it plays out in the future, because obviously when you think of this for WWE, you would think of Hulk Hogan's heel turn, infamous heel turn, joining the NWO, creating the NWO and WCW. I think the big thing with that one compared to this one is that with Hogan, it was pretty clear that fans were not buying into Hogan and they were rejecting Hogan in the lead up. And with Cena, like, I know there were definitely a lot of years, and trust me, I was part of that when it came to people were tired of Cena. But in recent years, as they treated him more as a legend of the business, you had more fans that were kind of cheering for him. I mean, even in the Elimination Chamber match, there were a lot of cheers for Cena as well. So this wasn't really a build up to that. This was more on the unexpected side. I think when it comes to how it will play out in the future, it is gutsy because, like what you said, it's happening in the retirement tour. If it takes off, it's not going to last that long, theoretically speaking, if you're assuming that Cena's going to, retire at the end, and this isn't going to be a wrestling thing where he might have a one-off match in the future. But based on Cena's career trajectory when it comes to Hollywood and other commitments he might have, I tend to believe this will probably be his last stretch of wrestling matches. So I'm under the assumption that this is the last year. With the stuff with Hogan and the NWO, that lasted way too long, but it also lasted like 2-3 years, and that obviously led to WCW's biggest business ever as a company. With the Cena stuff, I don't see this like him being a heel all the way till the end. I see this lasting a few months. And so that's kind of the risk that you're kind of putting in, right? Because what happens if he does take off as a heel and it becomes a big business mover? you're kind of stuck in now with this retirement tour. Like, do you have him retire as a heel? Is that the way that you go out?
Mhm.
So there are interesting questions about that in the future. In the moment, in a vacuum right now, I think this is a great angle, and it got me energized. And I've been somebody that's been fairly critical of the WWE. I've not been as bought in as others are in terms of this current era of WWE.
Well, you're always kind of late to the party, and I get it. Like I told you months ago that things were changing in the WWE and how much better the product was, and you're a bit of a slow come around, but that's okay.
Well, we'll get to
Bit
the
of a
Elimination
follow-
Chamber review itself, but
bit of a follower, but that's okay.
no,
Some
I
of us-
think I'm ahead of
some
the
of us-
trend. I call it how I see it, you know.
Some of us need to lead, and some of us follow. I get it.
I just
That's
call it how
why-
I see it, Lee.
Can't spell lead without Lee.
Oh,
Uh,
jeez.
yeah. So I'm like you. Like I watched this all take place and thought how great this is for pro wrestling, because when you can do something like this and you really not only fool a lot of people but make some people angry and make some people happy and do something that everybody is talking about. John Cena turning heel in his last year, way too long, to be honest with you. Like, he is more relevant now than at any point in the last, 10, 12 years for John Cena.
Mhm.
And to get him to that point, I think that's amazing. I think the ability to get John Cena to a level where you and I and everybody else are talking about it's one of the great heel turns of all time. Just that he's that relevant in 2025. I'm impressed. I am. I'm impressed. Now, I'll tell you, and we can sort of discuss what we think is going to happen, but I do want to put it a little bit in context, because there's always recency bias. It's when somebody turns heel that they're so in that like nobody ever thought that it was going to happen, because not only was the machine behind John Cena, but you take in the charity work and the Make-A-Wish. Nobody's ever done more Make-A-Wish wishes in the history in the world than John Cena. And you factor stuff like that in when you're making a decision whether you're going to turn someone heel or not. I could only really think of Hogan because, leading up to that point, I agree with you. People were starting to get fed up with him and turn on him a little bit.
Mhm.
But still, since he came into the WWF at the time in 1984, he was a face until 1996 and the biggest star in the world, in the wrestling world. So for him to turn, that's a big deal still. And for John Cena, it's been longer than that. And with a retirement tour and all the charity work and all the things that John Cena has done, to do this is really, really gutsy. I can't tell you I'm trying to think of other heel turns that were as big as this because of just his tenure and how he is considered in the sport. And he's been a face almost the entire way through. How many other heel turns do you look at and go, yeah, that's probably on par with what we saw on Saturday?
The only other one off the top of the head was obviously, again, the Hogan heel turn in WCW.
Yeah.
Maybe, but not in a positive way. But in terms of just shocking, Steve Austin turning on and joining Vince McMahon, that was more shocking. But obviously, it didn't pay off in the end because that was just not the right time to do it, if at all, if you're going to turn Steve Austin. So I guess from a shock value, I could see the argument.
Yeah.
And so those are really the only two that I could think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, same with me because you look at the greatest wrestlers of all time, and they very rarely have just been a face their whole lives. Like to me, I think of guys that were just like Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, never a bad guy.
Right.
If he had a turned at some point, that would have been significant. But when somebody is just so entrenched, I can only really think of Hogan, even though Hogan, previous to that was a bad guy. But from the worldwide popularity that he had, he was never a bad guy until '96. So to pull something like this off, to me, is incredible. Now, having said that, and I want you to and everyone to hear me clearly, where I think doing this in 2025 and getting so many people and having the shock of this happen is incredible for the business. Incredible for the business. So I don't want it to come off like I'm nitpicking right now. We'll see how the story is going to play out. As you said, I had to ask myself, do I think he's going to be a heel the rest of the year? I don't either, but I also think you need to roll with it. If it turns out to be something unbelievable, you might have to wait until that final moment before he retires to kind of get it back. Because he's not going out a heel. I don't think. I really believe that. So does it last a few months? Does it last the whole year until that final moment? We'll see. But if this was the plan, and this is where I would have done something different if this was going to be the plan. And again, just want to reiterate how great I thought it was. But if this was going to be the plan the entire time, I think I would have had John Cena win the Elimination Chamber. And with the question of The Rock and maybe looking at Cody and other people, and I probably would have tried to duplicate the moment that they had on Saturday at WrestleMania in the title match and have this all happen with Cena winning the title. Not in the main event of a pay-per-view is not a match segment. Right?
Yep.
So I just would have done it that way because I think the shock, you still could have pulled off the same sort of shock and put the title on John Cena at the same time, which would be, to me, like the ultimate. Now we'll see what their plans are. But I trust them again, Zach. I don't trust them in everything they're doing. But this made me trust them. Because I want to see what's going to happen. And I believe that they're going to do this properly with John Cena. Do you feel that way?
I'm in the middle. It's more not necessarily Triple H, more for The Rock. And now that he's involved,
yep,
that's where I kind of have my doubts.
Yeah, which is fair.
So so I'm not 100% in. Again, like what you were saying, I really like this segment. I really like this promo segment that they did, and obviously it's a big moment. But now that The Rock's involved, like I got to give it credit. I thought The Rock being there also helped because just to kind of really amplify the moment that two of the biggest stars in wrestling's history have formed together to make this heel alliance. But also, I just don't know if stuff is just going to switch around and all of a sudden, and The Rock wants to do something else with it that ends up lessening the impact. So that's why I'm more in the middle. Right. Not because of Hunter, more for The Rock.
Yep. So let me ask you, do you think it's possible that this all turns out at some point? I would say relatively soon, and I'm not sure what that timeline looks like, a month, couple months. that The Rock turns on John Cena again, and that's how they get Cena's face turned back, and The Rock can maybe align himself with the bloodline or somebody else to get what he really wants, and he's using Cena as some tool to get what he wants, and that will make people feel badly for John Cena. Do you think that's possible?
I think that is possible. I think it could go either way. Either Rock turning on Cena or Cena turning back to a babyface on The Rock. I think both could work out with a positive element there. Obviously, you know, the bloodline stuff is kind of lingering around, and I know The Rock mentioned in his promo how it was supposed to be Rock and Roman last year. So that might be just kind of an indicator that he wants to circle back to that at some point in the future. But I could see it going either way. I would lean more towards Cena turning babyface because I think that would be the bigger moment. But I could see the other end of the spectrum too.
But what do you mean Cena turning babyface? Wouldn't The Rock turning on Cena make him a babyface?
But well, I mean, as Cena kind of leading the charge on it, like he's the one that instead of The Rock turning on Cena, it's Cena turning on The Rock. That's what I mean more.
Basically, he doesn't want to be the corporate guy.
Yeah.
But he wants his 17th championship.
Yes.
And John Cena, who I thought quite awkwardly mic dropped in the press conference afterwards. Sometimes the mad, angry John Cena face, I don't quite believe.
Yes. Especially that hug. It was not exactly the most convincing hug.
It was awkward. And then I thought the mic drop was awkward as well.
Yeah. To be honest with Cena, sometimes it doesn't feel like he's a human being. I feel like he's more robot at points. Like I am a WWE champion. I am a PR machine. I am here to give out good quotes.
So John Cena tweeted earlier this morning as we record this, have the discipline to do what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. Which is interesting, right? How do you feel about that tweet?
I know the man loves his inspirational quotes on Twitter. So, but that is an interesting quote, all things considered, after the heel turn. I don't know if I'm going to look too much into it because that is kind of his shtick on Twitter. Is to put up inspirational quotes. He also follows every single human being on the planet on Twitter, except for me, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Which makes sense. But nonetheless, I'm not looking too deep into it just yet.
You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Cena posted the image of Harvey Dent from The Dark Knight with the quote.
Very good movie.
So there's two, I guess, breaking the silence after he just mic dropped in the press conference and then left. So where does this go, Zach? Where does this go into WrestleMania? Is John Cena the new champion after WrestleMania 41?
Feels like that's where it's leading to, doesn't it? Going into Mania now, like I still feel like even if he didn't turn heel, I still felt there was a chance for him to win the championship. I think that's greatly increased now that he's a heel. And if they want to capitalize on this turn and really make it something, so I think there's a strong chance that he'll win at Mania.
Well, there is a strong chance, of course, because they've gone ahead and done this. I guess it's whether you think it will actually happen. Like, do you see John Cena as the corporate champion after WrestleMania? I don't know that I do. Like, could they get away with Cody, maybe with a lot of help, beating John Cena and then The Rock being disappointed in John Cena and starting the babyface turn back already?
That's also a possibility. I mean, I'm going under the assumption that he's turned heel because he's been losing so long. They mentioned on TV, it's like, you know what? I mean, I would also turn heel if I lost to Jey Uso as well. So I don't blame him for that. But, he's turned heel, and this is like, you know what? I can't win it the way I used to. I got to change my direction, and I'm going to go heel. But then ultimately, you could do the story of evil never really truly prevails. And he seems close, but he cannot beat Cody. And then that's when you could do the babyface turn later, and then you could have him challenge again as the babyface. He finds his true self again, and then he's able to challenge and eventually win the world title.
Could we even be so bold to think that we're going to get oh boy. There's so many possibilities, and look, again, I'm going to say it. The fact that we're discussing it like this as one of the biggest heel turns in the history of pro wrestling and how many different directions it could possibly go, I think is incredible from the WWE to let us wrestling fans be that way. Could they do a double turn at WrestleMania?
As in Cody and Cena double turn?
Yeah.
Feel like it would be too soon, wouldn't it? I don't hate the idea. You've got one of the biggest turns. Feels like you got to go with this for at least a little bit, right? Feel like it'd be too soon to do a double turn.
Yeah, 7 weeks.
Even then, I still feel like that would be soon. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you could go months with this. Like I mentioned with the Hogan stuff. Like they tried to, they took every last ounce of they squeezed that spot, and I know they tried to get every last bit.
Oh, and then some.
And then some, right? Like
and the zest from the outside of the apple or the orange and the lemon. But I guess when I think about it, and the difference between the Hogan thing is the timeline of John Cena retiring.
Yep.
Right? Like, there's only so many appearances that he's got. He's only going to be here until the end of the year. So I get what you're saying. If John Cena wasn't going anywhere, or he's going to retire in 2 years, I'm like, yeah, this could go on for a while. But I don't know. Like, to me, the double turn with Cody really being the corporate champion and pulling one over on Cena at WrestleMania and keeping the world title would instantly make John Cena back a babyface. Instantly. And then could go on his babyface run for the rest of the year trying to chase that title back. And then finally getting it over a heel Cody Rhodes. I'm just trying to throw out possibilities. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
The other interesting thing that I saw, somebody recap that when Cody Rhodes was on what do they call it with Steve Austin, the Broken Skull.
Yep, Broken Skull sessions.
And that was in the summer? I'd have to go back. I believe it was in the summer. Somewhere in that Broken Skull podcast with Cody Rhodes, Steve Austin threw out if you need me at WrestleMania 41, I'll be there for you. Like 9 months ago. 10 months ago. And I'm like, wow. Somebody brought that up, and I'm like, well, that's something worthy of bringing up. Because although I would hate it, getting The Rock and Cena and Austin back in the same picture in 2025. Does it kind of make sense?
I wouldn't rule it out.
Oh, I wouldn't rule it out either. I mean, if Cody Rhodes needs some help, he doesn't have a lot of friends right now, right? How many friends does Cody Rhodes have?
He's got Ricky Starks in NXT that he could call up. Shad Spears if he wanted to. He could call up Shad Spears. Who are some other Cody Rhodes guys? Ethan Page? Maybe he could call up Ethan Page.
Yeah.
All NXT guys, they're just waiting in the wings to get the call up to help. Imagine that face off. The Rock and Ethan Page at WrestleMania. That would be a visual.
I would actually love that, but I don't think it's happening.
No.
I guess if you think that The Rock and Cena and Travis Scott are going to rule over the WWE for a little bit here, who is actually going to come to Cody Rhodes' aid? And there's only one name that's in the business right now. That's Roman Reigns. Is Roman Reigns going to come to his aid? And if it's not Roman Reigns, is it going to be Steve Austin? Because that also would make sense. But it's incredible that we're talking this way. And I didn't think, Zach, that you could get me that interested in a Cody Rhodes, John Cena WrestleMania match. And they have.
Certainly interesting where they go with Cena. I think it's gutsy. I think it's definitely bold. If there is a way to play it, it's just there's also the risk of, do you essentially waste it on something? It's still kind of looming. I don't want to be that negative Nilly.
No,
but it's there.
Their track record shows that they've done that before.
Yep.
So I agree with you, but I'm going to try to live in the moment where this was a great thing that they did on Saturday night. Like a wow, oh my God moment. For casuals, for hardcores, for everybody. And I think that that's incredible. I really, really do. And I think as we go through, not that we're going to do a full, because I think this is the Elimination Chamber moment. Like, John Cena wins after Seth Rollins curb stomps CM Punk, and Cena gets him in the STF, and he fades out. This is the Elimination Chamber moment. More than that match because of John Cena hanging around and doing what he did afterwards. But again, you start going down. I told you this before. There's been a lot of WrestleManias that I'm like, yawn, 2 nights. Oh my God, yawn. So Bianca Belair does win the Women's Elimination Chamber and will go on to face Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania. And of course, John Cena winning the Men's Elimination Chamber and going on to face Cody Rhodes. And we have Jey Uso against Gunther. We had a lot of great things coming up at WrestleMania. Matches that I'm intrigued on. I really am. And I think they've done a wonderful job at making this card a very, very relevant card coming up. So I'm happy about that. But the one match we should talk about is Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I'm eager to get your thoughts on this.
What do you think I thought of this match, Lee?
I think you'd love this match, Zach.
You would be incorrect. I did not like this match.
Why?
I didn't like there was a lot. So how about I say this? I didn't love it as much as other people did.
Well, did you love it? just not as much as other people
No.
did, or did you not like it?
I
What is wrong
There-
with you?
there were things that bothered me in the match.
Okay, like what?
I thought the multiple ref run-ins in an unsanctioned match bothered me. The commentary bothered me.
Okay, hold on. The multiple ref run-ins.
Yes.
Why did that bother you?
It's an unsanctioned match. Why would what does it matter if the refs like are there or not to count the pinfall? And they put the emphasis on that. I felt it was overbooked. There's just I felt it was less about witnessing Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn fight and more about WWE trying to implement its storytelling. And
Do you not think that they needed a winner? So like you just would not like a referee to come out?
It's just we're really doing ref run-ins in an unsanctioned match. You know,
what do you mean? Like what?
It's just I just want these two to fight each other. I don't need, you know, outside interference, outside things coming in. And I also just didn't like I thought commentary really they really try to put this thing as like, oh, they've got to stop fighting each other. They've got to, and I'm like, this isn't even the most devastating match I've seen in WWE in the last couple of months.
Yeah, but that's not Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. That's just
But that's part of the match. Like the commentary has a role. I know you're gonna say, "Oh, I don't listen," and blah blah blah, but they play a part, and I'm a commentator, so I
was gonna say. So says the remix.
Yes,
commentator.
Yeah,
that suddenly you're as big of a part as the wrestlers in the ring.
Well, if I'm taken away from the matches, then yes, I am playing a part in a negative way. But the commentators play a role. They absolutely do. I'm not saying they should be the star of the thing. God no. That's not how I approach it when I do commentary. My thing is to enhance angles and try and make things putting over. So I thought commentary was awful in this. I really did.
Okay.
I thought
that's fair, but I don't care. Right?
It has to matter. This is what's wrong with all you WWE fans. You talk about all this stuff about, oh, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Well, then what matters? Where's
Kevin
the
Owens
standards?
And Sami Zayn matter.
Lee, this is the number one wrestling company in the world. They have to have some standards.
What they were actually doing matters.
And I didn't think it blew me away. I really didn't. For an unsanctioned match.
But you've not. I asked you what you didn't like about the match, and
I thought it was long. I thought it took a while to get going. I thought there were some big bumps in there, but I didn't think it was.
The first two things you said were about the refs and the commentary, not about Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
I didn't think this was their best match at all either. And I'll even go as far as to say, I really like Kevin Owens. I really like Sami Zayn. I just want to make it clear. Those two have had some of my favorite moments in wrestling. But I think people were going in already liking the match, and they were going to like this no matter what.
Fair.
So
that's totally fair.
So I think there's a lot of people that really like both of these guys, and we're going to like this no matter what, and we're willing to oversee a lot of flaws. I think there were a lot of flaws in this.
Okay.
I thought
but it wasn't. But it's not Kevin Steen and El Generico from, 17 years ago.
I understand that, but you could still put stuff over. I know I'm the low man here because everybody loves this match. I saw people saying this is a match of the year candidate. I can't go that. I really can't. I thought this was a fine match. This was not bad. But this was not a 4-star plus match.
I'm not going to compare it to match of the year candidate and say because it's not in that category. It's not in Kenny Omega, Gabe Kidd. It's not in some of the other unbelievable matches that we've seen already this year. Just because it's not those matches doesn't mean it wasn't good.
It was. I didn't love this. I didn't love this. I didn't think it was paced well, and then I thought there was just too much interference. I didn't feel like they let these guys be them. And when I just didn't like the layout of this. I didn't like the run-ins. I didn't like the commentary. I didn't like the lighting. There was just a lot of things that just
the lighting
pissed me off. I'm not gonna lie. I think I texted somebody and I was like, I'm getting Fiend flashbacks watching this lighting that's all over the screen.
Boy.
So, but I'm like, okay, this is fine. This is just WWE doing their thing. you're telling me it's an unsanctioned match and you're trying to put this over as this heated thing, and it's like it's not even the most heated thing in WWE in the last couple of months. Like I didn't buy it. I didn't buy it. I thought this was an all right match. I thought these two have had better matches in WWE. Obviously, throughout their career, they've had better, but I'm not expecting them to turn back the clock to 2008.
So where do you think that goes now?
I think we're getting Randy Orton now, which, you know, get me excited for some rest holds and some headlocks. So
Pounding on the mat.
Yeah, taking a sweet ass time, walking down the entrance ramp. Oh, can't wait, Lee. Great. I'm sure he's gonna, you know, continue to do those stomps and people will go crazy, talk about what a great, intricate worker he is. So I'm guessing it's gonna be Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. I think Sami Zayn's kind of out of the fold now. I think this was just a gateway to get to that program with Orton and Owens. So, and I thought the finish was flat of the match too, by the way. I didn't like it as much as other people did. I really didn't.
I think that's clear. You didn't like the lighting. You didn't like the refs. You didn't like the commentary.
No!
I
didn't like a lot of things here, Lee. I really didn't. I'm sorry. Like, if you're gonna, it just feels fake and phony. Like you're trying to sell me on a hardcore match, and then you got all this surrounding stuff. How am I supposed to buy in when everything feels fake and phony?
Because it's Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn.
It's not enough. It's WWE. I'm not putting the blame on these two, although I think they could have done a little bit more in the first half. But I mean, we had a walk and brawl that we saw all the time. I mean, I didn't love this match, Lee. I really didn't.
You really made me chuckle here.
I didn't love the match. I don't know what to say. Again, I'm well aware I'm the low man on this. Everybody and their mother loves this match.
And look, Zach, you don't have to love every match just because it's not like I thought that this was the most incredible match I've ever seen. And I will absolutely put my hand up and say I'm guilty because I love Kevin Owens and I love Sami Zayn, and they could just give me just something and I'd be happy because I love them both. So was I going into this match going, it probably can't be bad? Yep, I was. And it wasn't a match of the year, but I just enjoy those two so much that it didn't matter to me. And the lighting didn't matter to me. And the commentary, this isn't the first time that this has been brought up. So I do want to say the commentary before, we're used to that, like giving them a break because Vince was always in their ear. And now that that's not happening, I do expect more from the commentary team. So if you were unhappy with them, I can see why in this match. I really can. I can see why you're unhappy with it. But I just don't care. It's like sometimes they talk and it's like listening to you at Remix.
Wow.
Fine. Yeah.
Don't tell the Remix folks. They keep booking me, so that's you know.
Zach, nobody else wants to do it.
You mean to tell me there isn't somebody out there? I'm sure there's a listener listening in right now that's like, man, I would love to do some wrestling commentary.
Yep, there is. And then there's real announcers who they call like me and go, nah, I'm just not interested.
Do you hit him with it? That's not going to work for me, brother?
Not going to work for me. A lot of Saturday nights going on at Remix Wrestling.
That's right. Next show in May. Stay tuned for that. I'll be there for that show.
Not going to work for me, brother. Oh, boy. So I do find it hard to like evaluate the card as a whole. I will say that there's a couple of things, certainly from what they did with the shocking turn. And one of the other things that I just liked because it was simple was Jade Cargill. And I'm not a big Jade Cargill fan, but Jade Cargill coming in to be angry and beat up the person who just took her place and became a tag team champion because she was gone makes perfect sense to me. And I like when they do things that have common sense. If that were me and I were hurt and you just replaced me with Ben Sublair, AEW fanatic, probably hated everything about this card. He'll tell you why Chris Jericho and Bandito was the best match in AEW history. But if you got Ben to be your partner and just gave him the tag team championship that I earned, when I came back, Ben is getting a fistful of my fists. I'm going to kick him in the teeth. And that's what Jade Cargill did. And I like that because it just makes sense.
Can I give one critique on it?
Yep.
I did like the angle, especially with her, beating up Naomi in front of Bianca Belair, right?
Mm-hmm.
Totally get it. Love the beatdown. Totally understand it.
Yep.
One critique. She just walked into the cage. You know how I feel about, the cage and how it's supposed to let people out? Mm-hmm. What's the referee doing? Just standing there and seeing Jade Cargill walk down. What's he thinking's going to happen?
Yeah.
Oh, she's walking down. I guess she's coming down to say hi. Oh, she's walking into the... What's she doing in there now? Oh, no, what's going... Oh, no. Come on. Get with the program here, officials. You know?
Yeah. I agree, but she's very intimidating.
Well, that's fair. But also, it'd be one thing if it was they're trying to close the door, oh my God, this person's trying to get in. We got to close the door quick.
Yeah.
And then she ripped the door open. That would be something. That's just a critique. I just thought it was hilarious. She just walked in, right?
And that's fair. That's a detail that I would like to see cleaned up.
Yep.
So I agree with you. I don't like those little details going just, hey, how do we get, so just walk in.
Yeah. And then Bianca Belair coming out of the chamber, and instead of going to Alexa Bliss, going to see what happened with Naomi, having her back turned to Alexa Bliss, and then Alexa Bliss throwing in those forearms. It was a little dumb, but those are just critiques, just small little critiques.
Again, those are details in the performance. I'm just talking about the common sense of what they were doing.
Yep.
And that makes sense to me. I don't have to think too hard about why Jade Cargill would be pissed. So I'm just enjoy when things make sense to me.
Yep.
Hey, do things through common sense. Use your common sense. In the sports world for a long time, Zach, I've always wanted the CSR. Common sense review. Use it in every sport. Hey, that's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. Matthew Shane's 18 feet offside. And then he scores. Yeah, we're not going to allow that. You know why? Because it's common sense that should not be allowed. Right? Not the things that matter with an inch or two or three. Just do things that make sense. And that made sense to me. So I applaud them for it. Because they've not always, if you can believe this, Zach, they've not always done things that make complete sense. But at least this one did.
Yep.
So all in all, the Elimination Chamber card, I think this is a very difficult one to evaluate. Because the angle at the end overshadowed everything else.
Yes.
And then they got everybody with this angle at the end. They got everyone. It's like paying for the movie, and yeah, you don't necessarily love all of the movie, but the ending is so great. You kind of just forget about everything else. And I would say that that's probably how I felt with this card.
Yeah, I think this the show closing angle saved a lot of this card for me personally, because I was not really enjoying the show that much, and I know more people enjoyed the Kevin Owens Sami Zayn match than I did, but I thought everything was fine when it came to the matches. Because, you know me, Lee, I am somebody that, again, very controversial take here, but does care about the pro wrestling in the pro wrestling promotion. Yeah. So I thought the actual pro wrestling itself was fine to all right. I didn't think there was anything super spectacular. I think there were little bursts, like little moments in between that were cool, but overall package was just, I thought the show closing angle saved it a lot. Like, the Tiffany Stratton Trish Stratus match against Candice LeRae and Nia Jax, you could have just put that on SmackDown. It was really nothing. I thought the men's Elimination Chamber match. By the way, how did Drew McIntyre do? You didn't answer my question in the earlier.
I did, Zach. Just like everybody else, including babyface John Cena, they all lost. All of them.
How did he lose?
Doesn't matter.
It does matter how he lost. How did he lose?
Why
you
would
picked
it matter?
him. You picked him. You were like, "Oh, Zach, you are gonna be so like you." No, you were going on this episode saying how
Zach,
so wrong.
I got this more correct than you did.
What are you talking about?
That because I went out and said that The Rock was going to take somebody and make them his corporate champion and take their soul. You didn't say that. You said that babyface John Cena was going to win.
I said John Cena was going to win, and you were like, Zach, you're not. You know that John Cena's not going to win. That's not going to happen. They're saving it till later this year.
Yeah, and
Drew McIntyre is the guy to beat.
That's when you told me. I'm sure you must have told me that they're going to turn John Cena heel.
You're trying to hit me with the why I picked it, but instead of who I picked. Don't try and change it. I know what you're trying to do here, Lee. So who was eliminated first?
Picking Drew McIntyre was actually more correct than you picking
Who was eliminated first, Lee?
It's all a fog. It just Zach.
Well, don't worry, Lee. I've got the results up right here for you. It's Drew McIntyre that was eliminated first. And you were telling me, Damian Priest would have been a better select. Who was the one that eliminated Drew McIntyre again? It's on the tip of my tongue. I don't know. It could have been anybody. It was such a star-studded chamber, right? It could have been anybody. Did CM Punk eliminate him? That would make sense. It would play off of their previous feud. Oh, maybe Seth Rollins did. I mean, he's a big star. John Cena. I mean, obviously John Cena, right? He's a big star. Who eliminated him, Lee?
Picking Drew McIntyre was more correct than your babyface John Cena pick.
The answer is Damian Priest eliminated him first.
DP. My man DP.
Damian
Priest.
So let's recap here from the last episode. You picked Drew McIntyre to win. He got eliminated first by Damian Priest. I picked John Cena to win. And guess what, Lee? He won. Don't hit me with a why. Don't hit me with a why.
No, you can't even pretend to pick John Cena and put your hand up and congratulate yourself.
I want all the listeners.
If you didn't even remotely mention the fact that John Cena could turn heel.
I want all the listeners, once this episode is released, put it in the comments, send it to Lee Versage specifically, but also in the comments and say hashtag Zach was right.
Nope.
Send it to him. Because we all heard the audio. I was gracious in my defeat, Lee. I was very gracious. I owned up to it, but I was expecting something in return. But no, he's like, oh, you didn't predict, the most unpredictable heel turn in the history of the business. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't predict the most unpredictable heel turn in the history of the business.
Right, you should be if you pick John Cena.
Hashtag Zach was right.
Babyface John Cena finished 7th on Saturday.
Unbelievable.
Tough to finish 7th in a 6-person field, but he did.
Anyways, this show closing angle saved a lot of the show because we had 4 matches in 4.5 hours. I mean, it's your typical WWE PLE criticism. Like, I can only say it so many times. But, people, you all don't have standards. You don't want matches. You just want moments. You want to go on Instagram and share it onto your stories. That's fine.
But we did get a moment.
You did get a moment. No. I'm not saying you did get a moment. I'm just saying that's all that's all you want. All you want is moments. You want something to share on Instagram. You want to share on TikTok. That's all you want. And that's that's fine. That's all right. Good. I'm glad people are happy. They can share. They could say, I didn't expect to see this coming. John Cena was my guy. You can comment on your social media. Good for you guys. I am one of those people, those sickos that likes the in-ring action. I know. I'm just this clearly left by the wayside in pro wrestling. So that's fine. It's all good.
Well, the good news, Zach, is that we're going to be back later on this week with an AEW Revolution preview. And we'll see if you pick Jack Perry in any of those.
Does he even have a match on the card?
I don't think so.
Are you trying to imply that even if Jack Perry wasn't announced for the card, I would still pick Jack Perry?
Pretty much.
See, I get your implication. I get it.
What we're going to do, though, is reconvene later on this week to talk about, pro wrestling, Zach, and not just moments.
Yes.
Except I'm a little concerned about the direction of AEW and where they're going. However, it does look like a pretty good card coming up. But what will we get out of that card? Some really good pro wrestling and no moments, maybe.
No moments? You don't think we're going to get no moments in Kenny Omega, Konosuke Takeshita? No moments in Mariah May and Tony Storm? That one is specifically made for moments.
Well, we will. We'll talk about the card. It does look like a very good card coming up. Again, we'll ignore the how they got their part. We'll just...
You're tough on the booking in recent weeks. It's been better than you're giving it credit for. Is this 2001 AEW? No, but it's been better.
2001?
Yeah, the 2021. Sorry, jeez, that was.
Oh, jeez,
yeah, that was a slip. Jeez, I've just been reading numbers and years over the last couple of days, and it's all combining together. All combining together.
Doc, when were you born?
I was born in 1997.
Oh, you would have been 4.
Yes,
you're right.
4.
AEW wasn't that, really good back when you were 4.
Yeah. Some might say it didn't exist at all in 2001.
But The Rock did.
He did. Yeah. WCW barely was existing for
it
a
was
few
actually
months.
It's a great time.
Oh, yeah. All the companies were dying, and WWE was the lone game in town. And there was hope of the invasion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was hope. And boy, did that quickly fizzle out. But
all right, we will be back later on this week with a preview of AEW Revolution and talk about the pay-per-view coming up on Saturday from the West Coast. But this has been fun, Zach. Again, I think when you have a big moment that caught everybody off guard, it's an important time. And I do congratulate the WWE on that part of it, that they grabbed a hold of a lot of people on Saturday at a pay-per-view that really doesn't have, to me, a lot of relevance going into WrestleMania, and they made it so.
Yep, absolutely.
So I do congratulate them on that. Again, can they follow through? They're earning my trust a little bit more and a little bit more, but they are going to have to follow through at WrestleMania, and we'll see if they can. It'll be a fun 7 weeks. I know that. So we'll talk about that, and also, we got some other kind of wrestling news that we'll talk about leading up to the AEW Revolution pay-per-view. But this has been fun. So for Zach McGibbon, I'm Lee Versage. Thanks again for listening to This Is Wrestling.